You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
Hey, Marty, this is Valentino. Let me just say this right quick, okay, because I need to talk to you as soon as possible. I'll just sit in jail and fight it forever. That's what it is. They know what they did is wrong. They ignore 7 witnesses in the confession. How much more do we need to have? You know, the case is full of corruption. So this DA is either going to do the right thing, or I'm just going to keep fighting.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Have a seat right there, okay?
All right. How's everybody?
Good.
All right.
I was wrongfully convicted of a homicide that I had nothing to do with.
I was charged falsely.
6,338 days I was in prison.
27 years.
I spent 11 years in prison based on hearsay.
I've been in prison 27 years for a crime I didn't commit.
They had me believing that I did it, and that's what they wanted to hear.
Did you kill your mother?
No, I didn't.
Did you kill your father?
No, I loved my parents. I had nothing to do with this.
Every day in prison is a bad day.
One thing that always really stuck out to me was how terrible prison is in general.
To say it's a struggle is an understatement.
More than the physical issues that one might have to deal with, the mental aspect of it is far worse.
Going in for something I didn't do and adamantly professing my innocence. I mean, it was rage. I had rage.
You see friends and family members moving on with their life, having kids, graduating from school. You see people dying.
I can't imagine being more helpless than being stuck in this, nightmare where you're innocent and you're convicted and the key's thrown away and no one believes you.
Wrongful convictions, it's an epidemic.
The criminal justice system works, right? You got good people outside, bad people inside. The reality is much, much more complicated. The criminal justice system has deep flaws.
Innocent until proven guilty is an idea that should be upheld, but that's not often.
It's not isolated to one area of the country. It's not isolated to one race. It affects poor people, it affects wealthy people, black, white, Spanish, it doesn't matter. When you have a system that's broken, it affects everyone, and innocent men and women are wrongfully convicted.
The criminal justice system doesn't work like it does on Law and Order or CSI or something like that. That's actually, sort of a utopian almost, right?
So many people believe you must be guilty of something. You wouldn't have been arrested, you would have been charged, you wouldn't be sitting at a defense table at a trial.
We have so many wrongful convictions because there's a rush to finality, to closure above the truth.
You always have to have someone to arrest. Somebody has to be to blame.
The criminal justice system is based on the presumption of innocence. The problem is that we just don't have that concept anymore.
And it's a natural human reaction to want to blame someone, especially for a heinous crime. But oftentimes that leads to filling in blanks where there isn't substance with assumptions and preconceptions.
I think there's been this rush in police interrogation tactics to get a confession at all costs.
and that has gotten in the way of justice.
This is where the system failed. They didn't investigate and then arrest. They arrested, then investigated. False confessions, prosecutorial misconduct, corrupt prosecutors, poorly trained law enforcement, forensic scientists that fabricate evidence, and then you may even have a win at all costs, where you had prosecutors that weren't trained correctly, that just were trained win at all costs, no matter what. And convicting innocent people didn't matter.
These are lawyers who take oaths to their profession, and they cheat, steal, hide evidence.
That is disgusting. That itself should be prosecuted. There should be severe consequences for government misconduct in wrongful convictions, and unfortunately, it rarely happens.
How many innocent men and women are still in prison, and we haven't been able to fix that?
Wrongful convictions happen every day.
There's so many innocent people sitting in jail, and there's so many guilty people walking the streets.
People find it difficult to believe the American system is broken just because we have this inherent belief that we have the best criminal justice system in the world, we have the best police in the world, we train our law enforcement well.
We all want to believe that we have the greatest justice system in the world. It's pretty hard when you hear that.
Marty's one of the greatest stories of all when it comes to wrongful convictions. It's just, you can't believe it.
His parents were murdered. He was convicted of murdering his parents.
Police emergency. Roy Parker, 33 Seaside Drive in North here. I need anyone to move. All right. He's gushing blood.
Listen to me. I want you to take a clean towel.
Yeah.
Wrap wherever he's gushing blood from. Hold pressure on it.
Okay.
What would they say to you?
You know, enough of this already. We know you did it. You know, just tell us you did it. That's all we need to hear. That's all we want to know.
In Marty's case, false confessions. 25% of our exonerations deal with cases that had false confessions. People say, well, jurors, say especially, well, you know, nobody would ever confess. You could confess in a matter of an hour if interrogated, you know, the right way.
Martin Tankleff, as to count 2, murder, 2nd degree. Guilty.
Marty's case is just as bad as it gets. You know, the only thing worse, I think, than being wrongfully convicted is being wrongfully convicted of killing a family member.
Not only do you have somebody that you believe is innocent sitting in prison, this is the person whose parents were murdered. He was the victim of a horrific crime. And then to, on top of that, be falsely accused and convicted of that crime is something that's almost unimaginable.
I always believed Marty was innocent. But at the time, I was just run over like everyone else was by the prosecutor's office and by the mainstream media that just presumed that he was guilty.
You have a client that you're absolutely convinced did not commit a crime, and yet they are serving a sentence for that very crime. I can't think of, as a lawyer, of a more powerful or motivating reason to work on a case, get up every day, than that. Suffolk County, New York, in that era, in the late 1980s, was notorious for, quote, solving murder cases through confessions.
There came a point when you tell them what they wanted to hear. Why would you do that?
It was a way to escape the confines of that environment. You know, was it the truth? No. You know, they wanted to hear lies, they were told lies.
Rather than investigate the case and build it up to a suspect, they would start with the suspect, get a confession, and then try to prove that the confession was accurate. In Marty's case, they couldn't prove that it was accurate. In fact, almost every piece of forensic evidence that was developed after the confession was given demonstrated that the confession was false in almost every respect. But when you go to trial and you have a defendant who has already confessed, it is very difficult to convince a jury that that was a false confession.
Why do you think the system is so reluctant to admit that they made a mistake?
The reason is very simple. Police are not going to admit, and prosecutors are certainly not going to admit, and because the damages are so great. The mistakes are so enormous. There's so much at stake. Nobody can ever say I was wrong. It just never happens.
Mark, Howard, and I have been friends since I think I was 3 or 4 years old. We grew up together from lovey-dovey preschool. And, you know, we continue to joke that Mark went to Yale and I went to jail.
I believed in him and I made that clear, and I think we had that connection during our senior year at the time of the crime and the aftermath when he was no longer allowed to go to our school, and he knew that I believed in him. Then we went our separate ways.
Somebody asked me one time, so did you have a good day in prison?
And I went on with my life. I got my PhD, I was working in political science, I became a professor, I got married, I had kids.
I said, repeat the question, good day in prison.
And Marty was still in jail, right? And so the years went by, but it was something that was just always nagging, and I would tell people, I have a friend who's in prison who's innocent.
Innocent defendants take the stand. They've got nothing to hide. I've got nothing to hide.
And at first they would say, no, that doesn't happen, not in America. But then of course, as DNA exonerations kept increasing, the Innocence Project kept spreading, people started to believe me.
Mark is more than just a friend. Mark is like the brother I never had, who was always there for me, always made the commitment that while I was in prison, that he would do whatever he could to get me out. Mark changed my life in so many ways.
And it got to the point where for me, it just took over my life, to the point where I decided to go to law school. I remember when we met in person, it was really powerful because he appeared to me as just one of the strongest people I'd ever met, but also one of the sort of best and with the highest integrity, and just he'd grown up into this wonderful, caring, thoughtful person.
I don't think you see Marty Tankleff without a smile on his face.
He's just larger than life. Who are you? Like, how do you do that? The fuck is that? Where's that gear come from? Where we live in a world where people get angry because they get cut off in traffic, right? And he loses his parents, has his sister turn on him, has the whole world collapse in on him, and ends up in maximum security prison, and is like, let's get this, let's do this.
And I told him that day in the prison visiting room, I will never give up on you. I'll never give up working to help prove your innocence. And even when you get out, not if, but when you get out, I will always be there for you.
Finally, in December, a state appellate court overturned his conviction. And on Monday, the Office of the New York Attorney General asked a court to make Marty Tankleff a free man.
I think as much as an impact I've had on Mark's life, Mark's had on my life as well.
When Mark asked you to do this class, what were your first thoughts?
He was crazy.
This course is coming full circle in a way to where I started, which was with Marty. And Marty coming down here and being a co-professor with me for this course, and for the goal of trying to get other people, other Martys, if you will, out of prison, was just tremendous.
In a weird way, I thought it was crazy because it was kind of like out of the blue. We started talking about it, and I go, are you serious? He goes, yeah, if they're gonna approve it, let's do it. And as soon as they said yes, it was like gung-ho. There was no stopping us.
Marty knows what it's like. He's been behind those cold, dark bars. And then we bring in students who are young, who are idealistic, who are enthusiastic, who have incredible resources and energy. We know it's an uphill battle. We know it's really, really hard to get somebody out. But we're going to try to show there's a major injustice that took place here. And we're going to try to do our best to make the case that one way or another, they should be let out.
And when Mark gave me the opportunity to co-teach a class on wrongful convictions at Georgetown to save someone else's life, how could I say no?
I had them submit a video application. You might call it an audition tape.
Hi, my name is Alex Feltis.
Andrew Schneider.
Ashley Valenzuela.
Julia Uziak.
My name is Maddie Hay.
Steven.
I'm a senior here at Georgetown.
I'm a senior.
I'm a senior.
Graduating senior.
I'm a senior in the college.
I'm a French exchange student.
I just recently transferred here.
I'm really excited to have the opportunity to take your wrongful convictions class.
The profound knowledge I will learn through this class will be unparalleled to any other experience I've had.
Oh my God, I need to take this class.
After I saw your class and what it was offering, I knew that I needed to be a part of it.
It is my hope to channel my passion for criminal justice reform.
I want to fight against the idea that it's someone else's problem to solve.
Justice matters.
The work that the project does is exactly the kind of work that I want to be doing for the rest of my life.
Thank you for taking the time to consider my application.
I am eager and excited to learn.
And I think that there's a world of good that I could do as someone with this level of sympathy.
Can't wait to see you next semester. Thank you.
When we watched the videos, it just inspired me to think that this is going to be an amazing class. And taking a train and then driving and having speaking engagement tonight, so it's a long day for me.
This guy never stops.
It's very exciting to me what's happening here. They're childhood friends, you can't even make this up. And they have a class now who have dedicated themselves this semester to 5 cases. They've divided up into teams where each team of 3 or 4 kids is taking on a case of wrongful conviction and trying to turn the tide and help that person get out.
Our goal for this course is for this to be life-changing, right? And even maybe more than that, which sounds impossible, but actually life-defining. Because that's what happened to me. If this works as we hope, you're gonna go to sleep thinking about what you can do and how you can help, and you're gonna wake up in the morning thinking about what you can do and how you can help. The holy grail for us would obviously be one of our 5 cases, one of the 5 people we believe were wrongfully convicted, getting out, getting exonerated and coming home. I know how hard it is. That's very unlikely to happen. It's probably unlikely for even one person to get out. We're basically trying to help people who are utterly hopeless, who are locked away behind bars for something they didn't do. And there's really nothing worse than you can imagine than being in that position. You're not going to be able to let it go. So that's kind of a warning. Your life is about to change. This is very different from being told what to do. Given assignments and having tasks and shit. This is up to you. You have to take this and own this like this is the cause of your life. So there's some things that we want to go through in terms of what we're going to do today, and then we're going to get into the cases.
As you move forward, one of the things you guys can do is look at the original trial. Maybe what the prosecution's experts said isn't the truth.
And then the other thing to remember is that we're going to have access to a lot of experts ourselves who are interested in our project and what we're doing and who are willing to help. I want you to think way beyond, we're just students here, we're just undergraduates, this is just a course. First, we're trying to find truth, we're trying to find what happened, and then we're trying to tell a story here, and that's where the documentary part of it comes forward. And you're going to try to think about narrative, especially as we start to spread this through social media. This is Marty on the day he came out, right? And that later that afternoon, that's the 2 of us. And that's what I want you always to think of. I don't know if any student in the world has had an exoneree as a professor in a class. You might be the first.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. And just think about how that story, talk about motivation, right? This is what we're trying to do. There are great people who are locked up behind bars for crimes they didn't commit, who are being prevented from contributing to society, and you have the example of how important that is. The key point is we got to start moving fast. The semester goes by really quickly. We got to go fast, especially for you seniors. You're going to have all these, extracurricular activities that we don't want to know about. So we want to hit the ground running and get started right away. We wanted to have a variety of cases that we picked. They come from some different parts of the country. They have different issues involved: false confession, junk science, eyewitness misidentification. We wanted to have some gender balance. We have 1 woman, 4 men. There's some racial and ethnic diversity as well. But basically, we wanted to show that these mistakes are part of everyday criminal justice in America. So Here we have the cases, starting with Kenneth Bond. It's mainly based on one eyewitness and then ballistics testimony that doubt has been cast on it. It's been suspect. He has virtually no chance legally through the courts.
In Kenneth's case, his lawyer fell asleep. I mean, how can you say an individual was effectively represented when their lawyer fell asleep?
The witness who testified against him actually had gun residue on his own hands, and then there was some matching of bullets through a technique that's not viewed as acceptable today.
I mean, when I was in prison, I used to have kind of this litmus test. I used to ask guys, are you willing to take a polygraph test? Are you willing to do a DNA test? Are you willing to do anything else? And when the guy said, yes, 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 I'd say, okay, let's talk. Because it was just something in my gut that said, okay, if he's willing to do whatever he can to prove his innocence, it's worth that follow-up question.
I've happened to know Kenneth and have gotten to know him over several years of teaching in the prison where he's incarcerated, and have really come to believe in him. He's somebody who has always passed what I call the Marty test in terms of the devotion to maintaining one's innocence. Case of Valentino Dixon, there are multiple witnesses who say he wasn't the perpetrator. There was someone else who had confessed, but somehow that confession just disappeared. And so it seems to be a case of an extreme injustice there that where they got the wrong person. John Moss III in West Virginia, which is really a surprising, unusual case because there was someone else, the husband and father of the victim, who had confessed to the crime, who was incarcerated for a while awaiting trial. And then suddenly charges were dropped and John Moss came in with very little connection to the family and what seems to be a coerced confession that, where he didn't really know much about the actual crime. So that's a case of a false confession, which has ties to Marty's own story and case himself. And so that's something that we really want to learn a lot more about. Timothy Wright. It's also a live case in that his attorney has been in touch with us and I think would really love for us to get involved, but I think a little bit in the sense of like she's looking for help with investigation. We have a case of Michelle West in California, just an unbelievable, shocking case where her husband was involved in the drug trade and there was a drug murder committed by somebody that the husband knew. Everyone knows who committed the murder, the person's never denied it, and somehow they testified against her because she may have known about the drug trade of the husband. They walk free and she gets 2 life terms plus 50 years. How is that even remotely possible? How is that even remotely justice? We need to keep momentum. Momentum is crucial here. So next steps are to meet with your groups. One longer term thing, but that we need to start planning shorter term, is for actually being able to meet the people in prison.
So the class is divided into different groups and we all chose a person that we want to delve into their case further and just try to see if we can find something within their case and try to get them exonerated. My group and I were working on Michelle West.
I picked the Michelle West case because she was the only woman out of the bunch. I think when people think of prisoners, they usually just assume in their heads that it's going to be a man. There are cases where women can be wrongfully convicted, and in her case, she was an abused single mother. She got put into jail even though the confessed killer didn't get a single day in prison. So there's a lot that went wrong in her case and a lot of factors that played into it. She got 2 life sentences plus 30 years, which was pretty heavy for the charges. That one, I think there's a lot of injustice there. I think partly it was because she refused to be an informant for the government, or that's what she says, and then they slapped her with a really heavy fine. But she was trying to protect her daughter, and then she knew that if she informed or tattled, her daughter would probably wind up dead in a playground somewhere.
So you felt connected to this story?
Yeah, the story really spoke to me.
So what would you like to be the outcome for this, for her?
She went through clemency several times before. It didn't work out. There's been kind of a lot of media on it, and they were trying to get clemency during the Obama period, and that didn't happen.
Right now, we're trying to work towards clemency for her because she has already explored all avenues for her legal case. I've been doing a lot of research for projects and papers and essays, and a lot of the data shows that there are a lot of kids who grow up with at least one parent or jail in their lifetime, and I really felt the bond between Mikkel and Michelle, and I really thought that was important that we seek justice for her.
We need to find facts, especially if we're going to get her clemency. We have to root through everything and find something that nobody's found before.
So the main goal is clemency. And how to do this is going to be showing that she's a model inmate.
I think the next steps are going to be getting the transcripts from the trial from her, and then once we look into that and get more background research, we can figure out what we need to zoom in on and then go from there as to what experts we need.
After each lecture, after each conversation, I feel like that's inspiring me, making me think about Michelle's West case in their lens and seeing little things that I could ask them or basically feed off of. So I think it's really helpful.
Hey.
Hi. My case is on Valentino Dixon. He was accused of a crime in 1991 where he supposedly shot two brothers, killing one of them. But there's kind of a lot of murkiness around his identification.
We're trying to figure out what actually happened in the incident.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's different contradicting eyewitness testimonies.
There's so much that's in question. For example, one of the primary witnesses chose Valentino at an early stage from a lineup and then questioned his own decision in court, wasn't really able to hold up to cross-examination.
We should contact eyewitnesses, lawyers, whoever was involved in the storytelling.
I read that there were 70 people at the crime scene.
70? That's a lot.
In the middle of the streets.
Oh,
Right now, the plan is to establish
hard facts in the case. We should be able to try and tell exactly what we're sure about what happened.
That's what I really want to do, is be able to make a list of everything that we know that what exactly happened and things that are in dispute.
I feel like for the rest of January, we should just be researching and reaching out to people. And then February, I feel like go and meet people.
Usually take a class and the greatest responsibility is that you want to get an A. But for this, you literally feel like you have someone's life in your hands. And obviously the ultimate goal, I think, would be to see Valentino Dixon be free. Obviously that's something that would be hard to achieve, and I don't know if it's realistic. What I would want as a goal is to cover new ground in terms of the case, discover new evidence or a new avenue to go down. At the end of this course, I want to be able to give these people hope.
What had happened was the police had found a body inside of a car that had been shot up a few hundred yards off of a freeway. Earlier in the day, witnesses had seen Justin Davis and Timothy Wright driving together and arguing with the victim, and Justin Davis and Timothy Wright gave contradictory testimony. In Davis's testimony, he argued that Tim Wright was the mastermind of the murder and that he had been kidnapped by Timothy Wright and kind of forced to serve as an accomplice to the crime. But interestingly, he changed his story a few times about how Timothy obtained the firearm, because the firearm that was used in the shooting of the victim belonged to Justin Davis. And in Timothy Wright's testimony, he completely contradicted Justin Davis's testimony. He said that he was innocent, not involved with the crime, and there's several key pieces of evidence.
And I think the main sort of alarm bell that goes off immediately with the case is that the only person who said that Timothy Wright was there was Justin Davis. Mm-hmm. Justin Davis was the son of the contemporary police commissioner. The local police department was the department that worked on this case for a couple weeks into this investigation before someone said, hey, this is, there's clearly a conflict of interest. In that time, all of the important things were happening. Timothy Wright's belongings were searched, his property was searched, everything was searched. But Justin Davis, who actually admitted to being there during the crime, his apartment was never searched, none of his belongings were ever searched. He said that the gun was his, and he admitted to that, and he provided shell casings that had his fingerprints on it, and he said that he loaded the gun, but the gun was never found. And we know that 3 days after the murder, he reported the gun stolen to his father, who was in the police department. And his father never filed a report and basically told him to hush and not say anything.
Keep quiet about it. Really a lot to chew on.
So we actually have a little less because ours are just transcripts. This is a lot.
No, it's fun. I got this.
So read these and then we can talk to each other about what's in this tomorrow and over the weekend.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
My name is Alex Feltis. I'm a senior here at Georgetown.
We're recording.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
So John Moss III is incarcerated in West Virginia because in 1979, Vanessa Regetz and her 2 children were murdered in their home. The husband, Paul Regetz, confessed to the crime and was pretrial holding for 11 months.
Even though there was a confession from Paul Regetz, the husband, and even though when the defense put him on trial, he talked about the fact that he had hated his family, that he had had a violent history with his wife, and he had beaten her previously. He didn't like his children. He didn't want to have children. He was pretty much an absentee father. All these different issues with him, and then they picked up John and they pinned it on him.
He's been incarcerated for 33 years, but still maintains his innocence.
So we got a couple of things up on the agenda today. We're working on finalizing our letter to John that John can sign, releasing all of his trial documents to us.
So I've started compiling a list of questions that I have about the case. Were fingerprints or other evidence recovered from the cords used to strangle the victims? And then the second one was there forced entry or an unsecured path of entry? He was contending that it was coerced because he asked for a lawyer and the officer straight up said, no, we're not giving you a lawyer.
Which is not...
That's illegal.
That's illegal.
It's just, it's not how the criminal justice system is supposed to work. Do I think he did it? I don't know. I'm not sure.
You bring in some extra chairs. I just want to make sure I get the visit part's going to be tricky.
If we should probably reach out to his lawyer. Kenneth Bond is a black male from Baltimore. He was convicted of murder. He had been involved with the criminal justice system throughout his youth, burglaries, robberies. He admitted to us a couple times that he was involved with things like drugs, and so he kind of got into the wrong crowd.
What happened in this case was that an eyewitness identified someone who looked like him, and there was some ballistics evidence that seemed to link him to the case, but on the whole, it wasn't a super strong case that really linked him to this crime, and he's maintained his innocence since day one. He continues to say that he'll do whatever is necessary to prove that he didn't commit this crime.
Do you believe from the facts that you've learned that he's innocent, or you're still on the fence? Most people don't understand wrongful convictions and immediately think, well, if they're in prison, they've done something wrong.
I think reading through some of the trial documents and the transcripts, it just is kind of unclear whether or not he was really involved, and that really put me on the fence. The fact that he would refuse to take any plea bargain and essentially go to trial believing that he might be released because he was innocent, I think speaks to the fact that he, to this day, 23 years later, really is not the person that committed this crime.
Well, what I want to know is why the prosecutors have such a vendetta against Kenneth.
I think they see him as a kid who's reckless, who's dangerous, who needs to be put away. They have a crime that's not solved, and it's sort of like, let's just bring these together. I mean, that's happened in countless wrongful conviction cases. They figure, you know, we're taking this person off the streets and we're closing a case. And that they need to close a case, right? The public is terrified, and there's all this pressure on them. So remember, you know, in wrongful convictions, 75% of them have mistaken eyewitness identification. That sounds like a very weak, shaky one, and sort of troubling one in how the whole lineup thing happened, right?
To accept this call, press 0 now.
Hey, Kenneth, how you doing?
Hi, Kenneth. Hi.
Okay, pretty good.
So I'm here with Nada, Cassidy, Julia.
I want to prove to everybody that, you know, I'm not a murderer. I've been raised around murderers. I've been around murderers most of my life. And, you know, that's not something that, you know, and being considered that is like, you know, being in here and people looking at you as the worst of the worst. You know, it's hard to overcome that. I want to thank y'all. Thank y'all for everything. I appreciate you, Mom. I really do.
Okay, good talking to you.
Thank all of y'all.
Thanks, Kenneth. Thank you.
Hang in there.
There's all this evidence that proves that he might be innocent, but nothing that, like, there's no evidence that's in his favor. You know what I mean? Right. Like, there's no DNA. There's no, like, there's no other guy. Exactly. There's, like, nobody else that, like, links them to the crime.
Where is the actual ballistics evidence? So for an independent person to re-examine, and you have like two clear fronts to move on.
Yeah.
Right. The Ahmaud Williams / witness front, and then the ballistics front. Both of them are, I think, pretty shaky.
So our next step is trying to get as many people who are involved in the case and in the trial interviewed as possible. So the prosecutors on our list, we are going to try to track down the main witness in the case.
Yeah, this is Ellie.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah, it's so good to finally speak to you.
Yeah, no, I've been waiting to speak with you also. Whatever you need to ask me, you can run them by me right now.
Okay, so the issue of your clothes that you were wearing at the time of your arrest.
Right.
Is that something you think we should look into and contact the Buffalo Police Department about?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, because they made emphasis during my police statement that once they take the clothes back to the lab, they'll know if I fired a weapon or not.
Yeah.
They tested the clothes but never gave us the results. So either way, they would be in a Brady violation if they did test the clothes and didn't give us the results. They found evidence of 3 different weapons. Okay?
Yeah.
And none of those weapons came back with my fingerprints or anything. They know whose weapons they belong to, you know, but it contradicted their theory. What happened here is not just a wrongful conviction. What happened here is a crime. Like I said, it really means the world to me and my family. Talk to you later.
Thank you so much, Valentino.
Okay, bye-bye.
It was really great to speak to him and have him say that he's so happy that we're working for him and that he thinks that we have a different chance to the lawyers. That's something that's really encouraging in students. I found it encouraging more than anything, more than demoralizing or more than depressing. I found it really encouraging.
Hello. This is a prepaid debit call from Jim Wright, an inmate at Virginia Department of Corrections.
Hello, is this Tim?
Yes, it is.
Nice to speak with you.
Very nice to speak with you, too.
If you just want to go through basically your version of what happened.
It would have been Saturday, May the 3rd, 2008. I think it was maybe about 1:30 or so that she contacted me and told me they found Justin Baumgartner. He's been killed. what's going on, what happened. And everybody was trying to do anything they could do to figure out what had happened. I called Nicole because I knew she worked in the area and said, hey, you coming back through? And she said, yeah. I said, can you pick me up because I'm trying to get on home now. So she stopped, picked me up. We drove into Amherst, stopped at the CVS store right there in the Amherst Circle, and cop cars, SUVs, they just start coming up out of everywhere. And I knew the cops that they put me in the car with, and I'm like, dude, what is going on? He's like, look, man, he said, I can't say anything, but he said, you're so screwed. Thank you for using GTL.
What do you guys think so far?
It's
We're
good.
getting a more complete picture of what actually happened.
Are you sure we are?
You're not convinced? I mean, I'm not saying, basically, he's giving more detail than we've had as, like, for every event so far, like, that we've read. So that doesn't mean necessarily that he's telling the truth, but, like, I'm glad that we're getting a detailed step-by-step that we can go back to, just from his perspective.
Hi, John. So all three of us are here.
I appreciate the letter you all sent me. I received it yesterday.
You got it?
And I just made copies. I filled out the form there to get the documents and everything to you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate what it is you all are trying to do for me.
Okay, John. So we'll start with asking you where you were on the morning of December 13th when the police claimed that you were at the Reggett's home.
December 13th, I was home in my grandparents' home. I was living with them at the time. You know, I was in bed asleep when they come about that I had knowledge of this. Was the next day where my family and all, everybody in the neighborhood saw on the news that Paul Reggett, the husband and father, was arrested for the murder of his family. Well, the first time that they ever come to even know who John Moss was because of my uncle. My uncle, he was an ex-police officer, and I was new in the neighborhood, and he had told them that I might do something about it.
And what was your relationship with your uncle? Was there any reason that he would have wanted to turn you in for this?
I never was able to understand that.
Okay. Before he turned you in, before this all happened, did you guys have a good relationship?
Oh, yeah. We had a wonderful relationship. Whenever I come to town here, you know, my Uncle Arthur, he was the main man. You know, I always wanted to be around my uncle.
One of the biggest things about this case is the false confession aspect, so we really want to figure that out.
I told him I didn't know anything about these murders. Only thing that I knew was what I seen on TV. So once we got to Parkersburg, they was taking me out of the car, and Mike Smith, he hit me in between the legs, and I go down. When I told them that, I cooperate, you know, I tell you whatever you want to know, just don't let Smith back in here. And whenever I mess up or I couldn't remember something, he was saying Mike Smith did. Mike Smith would come in there and slap me around a little bit. And it wasn't until I just gave in and started telling him, I get it.
So I know we're running low on time. I think we all just want to say to you right now that, like, first of all, we believe you and we think that you're innocent, and we really think that, yeah, of course, we really think that a huge miscarriage of justice has happened here. So we're going to do the best that we can to help. Ooh.
And breathe.
Oh my god. I'm so emotional right now. Oh my god.
Almost all of these cases, there is something that has been missed, or a witness that has been ignored, or has not been spoken to. And so I have complete faith that they're going to come up with something that has been missed before.
So today's featured guest, of course, as you know, is Adam Deutsch.
I remember Marty's case. I always say, this kid had his life taken away from him. The most important thing that you can do in any of these cases is go out and speak to people. The electronic stuff it's great, but it only gets you so far. There's nothing that replaces it. There's nothing better than going and saying hello to somebody. People like to speak. People like to talk, and you just need to find a way to kind of crack the ice and get them to open up.
What's up, Dad? How you doing?
Alright.
Yeah. I'm with everybody right now.
Hey, Kenneth, this is Mark.
Hi, Kenneth. This is Julia.
Yeah, hey, Julia, not a.
How are you today?
Pretty good. How's everybody doing?
We're
Excellent.
good. We're good.
You know, if I have a chance to say it in front of the world, you know, I like to say now that I know I've said it to you many times and to other people, but, you know, you're a large reason behind how I made it through all these years being in this situation. You know, you coming down here year after year, you know, having to experience, you know, I'm in here physically, but, you know, you've experienced this incarceration as well as me. You know, you grew up coming down here and having to build a relationship with your father in that way, and you know, I just so much appreciate how, you know, your love has always been unconditional, and you know, you never looked down on me. You always treated me with the respect that a son should show his father.
Me and you, we've been through a lot. Despite you being in jail, you know, you were still a good dad. You know, you never missed a birthday. Anytime I was going through something, you'd always call me at the right moment, you know, and help me out, because that's just the kind of person you are.
You've done a great job in the most difficult parenting circumstances possible.
I appreciate all of y'all.
I appreciate you too, Dad. Love you.
I love you.
When you were growing up, do you remember finding out that your dad was innocent, or did you just always grow up with that belief in your mind?
The gravity of the situation didn't really hit me until I was, you know, maybe 8 years old, you know, when I was like, okay, yeah, my dad is in jail for the rest of his life, you know, why is he in jail, right? So it comes from a few questions. Like, I never actually knew what was going on, you know, probably because maybe I didn't want to know. I think, you know, but, you know, once I started asking, I knew he didn't do it, you know, like I've always known.
What is your dad like?
My dad, he's dynamic, he's wicked smart, he's talkative, he's preachy, you know, I love that about him. You know, he gives the world advice, right? He has a gravity about him, you know, everybody is drawn to the things that he says and the things that he does, and you know, when you meet him, you're like, wow, like he's something else. All my life I've known him, he was in jail. And I've definitely had some troubles, right? Like, not having a father figure in the house, you know, it sucks. And, you know, you know, it hurts to kind of try to like imagine what my life would be like, you know, with him there. You know, because I guess that's just not fair to the situation, but it just, it helped me realize that the world and life isn't always fair.
That's one day I will never forget, when the detectives came in my home and said that they were looking for my grandson, that he was suspicion of murdering someone. I said, my grandson didn't murder anybody. He had a heart. He wouldn't dare walk up and just shoot somebody. He was that type of young man, and I knew for a fact at the time he didn't do that. The worst day of my life, when I heard that he got convicted, and life, it was terrible. In the whole house, everybody just went berserk. It took a lot out of all of us.
I think he's a victim of the justice system. You know, a justice system that wasn't designed to protect him, that was designed to just, you know, get his case out of court, got the numbers, boom, the prosecutor might be able to run for DA one day, who cares? To quote Martin Luther King, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And if the system in itself can support injustice by not, you know, acknowledging that it's happening and not doing whatever it can to fix it and stop it, then that system, you know, is wrong. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and they usually say, like, hey, you're in jail for the rest of your life. You know, you're either going to tell one story or you're not. And he has maintained his innocence this entire time. And it sucks, man. Prisons, it sucks going there. You know, it always seems like a hassle, and it's a heavy environment. You look at all these like bars and barbed wires and bull crap that they put, you know, all around him to keep him there. You know, to make sure that he doesn't, you know, get the opportunity to be with his family, and it's a pretty heavy environment. I want my dad here. I don't-
10 minutes this way on this road is where he was shot.
Yeah. Keep an eye out for the address numbers.
Thank you guys again for just coming to talk to us about Tim and the case.
We should start, I think, just with who Tim was, his childhood, just stories that you guys have.
He was firstborn of 8 children. Very gentle, kind.
Timothy was my older brother. He was always there for us. Hard worker, fun guy, loved to laugh, tell jokes.
I think he had a lot of self-confidence, and he felt good with himself, and so he carried it well. Then later on, he told of his desire. He wanted to go into the Marines.
In our small town world, it's God family country, and the fact that he was going to be the first soldier in our family was just huge.
When he came back from Afghanistan, we saw the war had affected him. I had a bad feeling. About 3 months later, this murder occurred, which was news to me, just like it was to everybody in the county. We heard that there had been a shooting, and it happened in a nearby place from where we lived. 2 plainclothes policemen approached me, show me their badge, and say, "Where's your son?" I said, "Oh, well, there he is." And they said, "That's all right, we got him." And so about 15, 20 officers, people, they run from all over the parking lot. They grab him out the car, put him on the ground, handcuff him. And I'm like, what's going on? He was apprehended, supposedly, for this murder of Justin Bumgarner.
When I heard that he had gotten arrested, it was just shock. It was the same feeling of, okay, well, they'll find out what went wrong, and maybe he got caught up in something, and they'll get figured out. We had faith in the justice system.
And I just thought, let's just get to the bottom of it so everything is, over. And I'd never been through anything like this, never had any kind of situation like this. My father was in law enforcement all his life. He wrote some of the manuals in the state of Virginia that they still use today for prison systems. And so I have the utmost respect for authority, police.
I was taught that they deserve respect, that they're here to serve and protect. And they're not.
And I was naive at the time. Looking back, I realized I just trusted everybody is trying to do the right thing. Everybody just wants justice. Everybody just wants the truth.
There's a system, and if you don't play by the system, then you get taken by it.
As things went on, we realized there's some things that don't seem like they're adding up, And it takes months to go to trial, and we're visiting our son in the jail, and we're trying to ask him, "So, what's going on? What happened?" He's always said, I never did this. I wasn't there." So we thought, if that's the case, son, you don't have to worry.
I never believed he had done anything, and I never will, because it never added up from the beginning.
We had only been living in the community for a few years. And this was a case involving my son and a policeman's son. And the policeman got to maintain on the force during that time. He actually was part of the investigation. Based on Justin Davis, the policeman's son's testimony, so they have his testimony saying that Timothy did this. First statement, he said, I was kidnapped by Timothy. Well, they were friends, and so it's like, that didn't sound right. So he changed his story later. And then they let him go. We found out that the policeman went to his son's house to inspect for evidence. Does that even sound right? No, it shouldn't be. My father, law enforcement background, finally after a week says, look, y'all need to turn this over to state police. You shouldn't be investigating your own something where a family member is involved in your police department. It's just unethical.
Yeah. So it was your father specifically who sort of pushed for that to happen?
Yeah, within 24 hours of him saying that statement, all of a sudden, oh, well, the state police are involved. Justin Davis, the policeman's son, they ended up implicating him, saying he was involved. So they actually arrested him. The motive, they're saying, is that it was some kind of love triangle between my son, the one that was shot, And the policeman's son is with this girl who my son was around and friends with.
When the murder occurred, my brother and Nicole were not romantically involved at all. In court, they portrayed a picture of my brother killing out of a spree of jealousy. And no offense, but my brother was married at the time, had a child on the way.
It was all based on circumstantial evidence.
The murder weapon used was never recovered. The murder weapon used was Justin Davis's. The testimonies were changed under oath multiple times by multiple people. Their fingerprints on the bullets were Justin Davis's.
And there was certain evidence that was disregarded. There was a trajectory report done. That's where they figured the angles of bullets coming and all this. And it was conclusive that my son's truck was one of these hire trucks, and this person that had been killed, his vehicle was lower. So if there was a shooting like a drive-by, it would have to be coming on a downward angle, from my understanding of it. But all of them came from an upward angle. And the state police have that report, but they will not release it because it didn't help support their case against my son.
His truck was impounded. It had a lot of personal items, had a lot of items that would have been pertinent to being able to appeal, fight his case afterwards. They sold it quick and destroyed evidence before the time that they were allowed to.
They sold his truck?
Yeah. They tampered with evidence before the trial, during the trial, after the trial. They did everything they could to sweep it up and remove anything that could point back to them.
You bring all the evidence forward and let it fall where it may, but that's not the way it's done. You bring forth the evidence, the prosecution brings forth the evidence to prosecute the person that's before them regardless. It's like, hold on, are you playing a game with my son's life? I said, you didn't have evidence to prove beyond a doubt. You had more evidence to prove the other guy that claimed it was the one that did it. And he's serving 8 or 10 years, and my son gets 63 years. He'll be 84 years old. There is no parole in Virginia. There is no anything. He's 84 before he gets out. It's affected our family in a pretty dramatic way.
Every single activity in all of our individual lives are impacted by the fact that he's not there. It's this giant hole that never gets filled.
You know, if we give up, we've given up on his life. Like, we love him. It's his life.
We just don't know what else to do. We don't know where else to turn. You know, we appreciate what y'all are trying to do, and it needs to be done, and we understand it more than we ever have. So, thank you.
It was 6 in the morning, which is when John says he was waking up for school, to go to school. If his best friend lived there, then he was also waking up to go to school. You don't just fucking walk out with blood all over you after murdering 3 people from the house and just go over to your neighbor and be like, hey, what's up? Let's go to school.
How you doing? Let's go to school.
Catch the bus.
Yeah.
I just murdered 3 people.
Yeah.
You're walking into the street, because then the shooter shoots once in the air and then 3 times at you, and then one of the bullets veers off, hits the young boy, Lucas, and at that point Ahmad is over there with Alana, and they flee the scene.